Sammy, can you full screen your presentation?
Right, you're on.
All right.
Move you guys where I would if I could figure out how to do that.
There's a button in the top left that says present.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Welcome, y'all, whoever's here, to the Running for Regional International Office Lunch and Learn workshop. We have, I think, 7 past candidates here right now. We're all going to hopefully share experiences with you so that you get a better idea of what running for office is all about. My name is Dahlia. I am currently an alumni member. I have been active in alumni for the past couple of years. I ran for international office, Division I Vice President in 2019. We also have other international candidates here like Samantha.
Hey.
She ran for office in 2017, also for Division I Vice President. And Kimberly. Kimberly ran in 2018 for the same office. And we also have all of our current 2020 to 2021 regional officers for the Carolinas region present with us today. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with the questions. This is more of a question answer panel style format so that y'all can get an easier grasp, I guess. So the first question is, why run for international office? And Kim and Sammy, do y'all have anything to say for that?
You want to go first, or?
Sure. Yeah. I think it could very well be the best experience of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Even at my age, I found that the experience will probably last me forever, as long as I have a memory. I ran during the 100th year anniversary celebration, and I had never spoken in front of a crowd of about 4,000 of my closest friends. So it was really a life experience. Yeah, and I think if you win, the experiences are even more priceless. So I would encourage you, even if you're just considering it, to really, really think about it, because it was super fun.
Yeah, I agree. At first it was really scary because when they give you like the whole big packet of everything you have to do and everything you have to prepare, it's like kind of overwhelming. But once like you get past that overwhelmed like feeling, like once you're there, it just becomes a whole like, it's like every other convention, like a whole family unit. It's just way bigger, and you meet the best kind of people that you're gonna like have friendships with forever. Like I haven't seen half the people like that I was really close to that year, but I talk to them all the time. So it just expanded that family unit Phi Theta Kappa Carolinas is, and expanded it bigger.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah. So staying organized. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I
Okay.
accidentally clicked.
It's okay. Thank y'all for answering that.
Yeah.
So our next question is why you should run for regional office. It is a bit different, and I'll let the 2020 to 2021 officer team answer those questions.
Thank you. While our era is among the COVID era, so when we ran for candidacy, we're still able to share our personal opinions and insights to how to run for regional office and the benefits of which are in this position. So I would start off with simply the leadership opportunities as a regional officer. You're much more in depth, and you have a greater ability to impact your region rather than just being simply an officer or a member. In addition, you get some certain benefits like the $100 stipend, regional regalia, and your medal and your shirt and all that stuff. So that's a nice benefit on the side. In addition, I would say specifically, even though I have not been able to meet any of my regional officers yet in person, we have been able to connect via Zoom. Even though we can't meet in person, we have been able to gel as a team and work efficiently and productively together and build on that teamwork aspect, build on the 4 qualities of Phi Theta Kappa: scholarship, leadership, service, and fellowship. And essentially, we've been able to gel as a team, work on teamwork, cooperate, and build each other up in all the projects and flyers and tasks that we have to accomplish. Claire, anything to add?
For me, running for regional office was a big step out of the comfort zone. And I think that is one of the big reasons to run. It's new experiences, it's new connections, it's new skills. It's you push your own limits and you discover limits you didn't even know you had. It's been an experience and I've been loving it.
What about you, Donovan? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, for me, a big part of it was, looking good on a resume and looking good on transfer applications and whatnot. But also, you get, like Nicholas was saying, with like little bonuses. You get like admission into leadership, and which we don't get because it was free this year. I mean, for this one was at least. But even so, it's still like a good pushing factor to me.
Thank y'all for sharing. So our next question is also like, I thought it was pretty popular, at least when I ran for international office. I saw a lot of candidates who were also regional officers for one or more terms in their respective regions. And I have Sammy here to answer this question because she was our North Carolina Vice President of Carolinas region from 2016 to 2017. And she ran for international office right after. So I'll let her field this question.
So the biggest difference I think was, at least the running process was with regionals. I was already an active member, so I already knew everybody there when, during the Carolinas, but when I went to internationals, it was a little more, it was a lot more, there were a lot more people that I just didn't know. So it was kind of harder to answer those questions that, people randomly ask you. But if you're, good at public speaking, that wasn't a big thing. But I would probably say the biggest difference though, was just the amount of work that it took. Because, with regionals, it's, you still have to write your speeches, you still have to do all that. But for internationals, I felt like it was a lot more in depth, which, I mean, it should be. There are a lot more candidates and a lot more, basically a lot more to prove. But either way, both experiences were super different in their own respect, but kind of the same, just different scales.
Thank you for answering that. So we have a couple pictures next that just show you what Sammy's campaign booth looked like when she ran for regional office and then international office. As you can see, regional office is a lot more personal, one-on-one. You get to talk a lot more with your regional fellow captains, and it's just it's a lot more personal feeling.
Yeah.
And then for international, it gets a lot bigger. You have a lot of people come up to your table. They get to learn all about you and what you have on your board. You can pass out handouts, which is nice.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to speak to everyone. And a lot of people are just kind of going to come up, grab a pamphlet or a flyer and just kind of linger and listen. So that was another big difference was, trying to get Carolinas especially, we're all like, hey, what's what do you think about that? But with internationals, you had to be like, hey, come here, let me talk to you.
Yeah. And then we have a couple pictures from Jason Hansen's regional and international campaigns. So I couldn't find any regional pictures because apparently it's just such a long time ago. He actually ran in 2018 for South Carolina Vice President and served from 18 to 19. And then from 19 to 20, he served as, I think, the regional president, if not for another office.
I think it was secretary.
Was it secretary?
I thought.
He was in my position, yeah.
Yeah, it was secretary.
Okay. So he also served for secretary for this past academic year. Unfortunately, he could not be here with us today, but he also was, like Sammy, the dual office candidacy.
That was
Here's his international booth. He chose the what was it? It was at the table, It was like more of a family style inviting campaign booth that was a lot more interactive for candidates. And I thought it was pretty cool. So, what was the overall experience of running for office like? So I guess I'll start off by answering this question, and then I'll pass it off to Nicholas and Claire. So for me, the overall experience, it was exhausting, but it was very rewarding in a lot of intangible ways. Like Kim and Sammy mentioned, you make a lot of friends when you're there. You know, you get like the 30-some people that are also running for a national office. They kind of just throw you in a room together, and you get to start talking, and you decide apparently to make a lot of new friends. I don't talk to a lot of my friends that I made from my candidacy currently, but I am friends with them on social media, so we kind of just like are always up to date on what the other's doing. As for campaigning, I was on energy drinks most of the time because it was so tiring and there was so much work to do, and I'm an introvert, so talking to people is very exhausting for me. I honestly cannot remember how many people I talked to during the campaigning sessions. Like, it was everyone just coming up one after the other, and my campaign team was also like out on the floor, like talking to people, passing out flyers, and explaining my platform. So what about y'all, Nicholas and Claire?
I concur in terms of relationships and those who you meet for friendships that last a lifetime. However, once again, our era was within the COVID era, so we had to do most of our campaigning online or via Facebook videos, Instagram polls, that type of online campaigning. For Claire, Donovan, and I, we did not have opponents for candidacy. However, Paulina did. I know that her Wi-Fi is currently down, so I will discuss her part currently because she discussed it with me. Or I'll just give you my insight as to why I thought she might have been a better candidate than her opponent. Excuse me. I would say for the candidate caucus, which was the only main time we had to observe other candidates in terms of the competition, I would say the first impression and the way you carry yourself and how you respond to those questions that are given to you is imperative for success. I know that when I was viewing the candidacy for VP of North Carolina, Paulina answered her questions in a more respectable and a more complete way, which is why I began to start leaning towards her for being my future VP. While I'm not really sure about the other candidate, I'm not going to diss her or anything, but I feel like Paulina did a better job, was better prepared, and overall would have been a better candidate for that position. So I would say the first impression, especially in this technological era, is of high importance. As well, I know that Paulina did quite a few Facebook videos and other campaign materials, such as advocating for her cause, for her position. So that was also a big factor that pulled me towards voting for her. And then I convinced my chapter to vote for her. And then once again, she won, and now she's NCVP. So once again, I would say first impressions, being well prepared for any event that might arise, and having confidence in your position and your abilities might be one of the main factors to success in any position, any leadership position, especially in one that has such a great and a high impact like regional or international office.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
Definitely.
Claire, what about you? What was your overall experience like?
It has all been virtual for us, so piggybacking off of that, you don't really get to know anyone in person. It does make the whole campaigning experience a different experience, and that's for sure. But it's, as with any challenge, you overcome it, and I think that's part of the campaigning process too. It's that learning to overcome the challenges, and that's part of the whole experience of being an officer. I think it's finding those solutions, coming over those challenges, and coming out on the other side going, wow, I did that. And I think a big piece for me has been challenging myself to work in a team and communicate, especially virtually. Because for me, when I decided to run, it was a big push on, I want to be better at working in a team. I want to be better at communicating. And it got switched to virtually after that was my mindset already. So it is definitely another step. And that's kind of what I'd mentioned about finding those other limits that you didn't even know were there. I didn't even think this would have been in my capacity. I did not think that I would be on Zoom calls or phone calls very often, but overcome, but it's been great. It's been a push.
Thank you for sharing. So for the next slide, we have a couple more pictures of international booths. The first one is for Kimberly. So Kimberly, do you want to talk more about how your campaigning went with your booth?
Kimberly, you're muted.
Okay. Sorry. The overall experience or some of the challenges, Dahlia? Sorry.
You can go into both, so we can kind of segue into
Okay.
the question.
I think one of the, what I thought was so neat about campaigning was that PTK treats their candidates like royalty and celebrities. I mean, you're just like whisked away to these meetings, and I mean, you have to know what's going on and everything, but I thought that that was a really fun experience, and that so many people shared their life experiences with me about my topic for the speech that I gave. And I appreciated the fact that I could use that opportunity as a platform to advocate for something that I really felt strongly about. And about the challenges, I don't remember who said it, but whoever said earlier about preparing for the open question sessions, that was, yeah, I wasn't even scared to speak in front of all the people as much as I was about I don't know what these people are going to ask me times. And it seemed like that there were plenty of times, like you said, people would just walk up to you, as they should, and just ask you a particular question. And, you'd have to get your mindset right and, try to be politically correct and at the same time answer everything that they wanted to know. And the only other thing that I would say was the challenge for me was getting that happy medium of the proper amount of caffeine to keep me going, but not to the fact that to the point where I was shaking and I looked nervous or sounded nervous. You got to get that balance.
Yeah, everyone had said that I did really well in mine, but I just remember being extremely nervous the entire time I was on stage. But everyone told me, like, I looked so laid back and I answered the questions really thoughtfully, like I wasn't stuttering a bunch. So
yeah. And I think when you prepare for your speech, that's such an important part of working with somebody that's really either took a lot of public speaking or that's their thing. I had the pleasure of meeting with our campus president, and she helped me a lot, as well as one of our advisors. So learning how to speak without saying all the time is very important.
It really is, and I still struggle with it. So
yeah.
I do just want to add one thing, how you were saying after your speech, how people came up to you and said that like it was impactful. When I did my speech, I had one lady like really just blow me away because she so mine was about beauty and vulgarity, and she came and told me, like, regardless if I won or not, that she just wanted me to know that I really touched her with my speech and yada yada. So like, even if you don't think, like, even if you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to do this because I'm not going to win, like, you never know who you're going to impact, like what your impact is going to be on someone. So like, even if you're like, don't go in it for winning, just do it because you want to do something good.
Yeah, I completely agree. So my platform was on early college students because I really felt like there wasn't a whole lot of involvement, at least in our region. And I felt like that was a general theme throughout the whole honor society. And now, like, I'm happy to say, like, I see a lot of early college students that are very active, and I'm really proud of that, because when I was active, that wasn't something that was a huge deal. So my platform was just about trying to increase participation in ways that we can reach out to various students on different platforms that would reach everybody better. Because I know, like, for my community college, one of the biggest problems was that we would meet on Fridays at 1 o'clock. But the early college students are required to be in school until 3, at least for like the first couple of years that they are in the school, because it's the normal school hours and they are still part of the county school district. So that was my biggest thing. And I've had like people come up to me or like find me on Facebook and text me and be like, hey, like, I'm really like moved by what you said, and like I'm really glad someone's fighting for us, even though like I didn't win and I didn't make it to was it the second round with the speeches?
Yes.
I didn't make it to that round, but I've had like ton of people that weekend come up to me and be like, thank you so much for like everything you did. Like I was so moved, and like you're such a good person for doing that. So
Yeah, that I think that was my biggest takeaway from running internationally was like that, like I said, that whole weekend was worth that one lady coming up to me and being like, look, you really, your speech really moved me. And I was just like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next slide, this one is actually my campaign booth, and our current alumni advisor, who's also my mom, was there with me. She helped, and so did some of our. Actually, I think most of my campaign team was alumni, and then members from my chapter. So it was a nice mixture of people who are on my team. I did flowers for my theme, and honestly I cannot remember why, but I had some theme. It was like dahlia or something. But like when you campaign in person and you make your booth, I think the biggest thing for you to try to do is to be very visual and have an interactive piece with your booth so that people want to come up and they want to be a part of your campaign.
Yeah, I had little post-its that just write a post-it on something you want to see the international team do, or a message to send to headquarters. And even though I didn't win, I took all of those and I gave it to Don, who did get that position, and he took it to them. So like, that was something that people really enjoyed, was just like all the little colorful post-its and markers, and it just made them feel heard. So like, being interactive really.
Yeah, I know Jason, I've already mentioned it before, but Jason did the set the table thing. Jenna Santacroce, who won the position that year, she had like a giant tree, and I don't really remember what people were writing on it, but you'd like have a handprint cut out and you'd write something on it and put it on the tree. It was really big too. It was like a little bit wider than her table.
Oh geez.
Yeah, it was huge. So,
by the way.
And I guess we'll kind of segue into the question, what were the challenges? Kim, you already answered that. Sammy, do you have anything to add?
So I would probably say one of my biggest challenges was what you guys touched on, trying to like find something to keep you awake, but not like, because you are going from the very second it starts, actually before it starts, to 11, 12 p.m. or a.m. So it's like you need to find something, but not something that's going to make you crash. And also, I would say one of my biggest things was find a campaign manager that you will listen to. Because if you don't, you're just gonna be like, oh yeah, no, I'm fine. Next thing you know, it's been 12 hours and you haven't had a sip of water because the campaign manager is like, well, she didn't want it.
Yeah.
So that was one of my big things. Was at first my campaign manager was just like, oh no, she said she's good. She said she's good. And I ended up like feeling really, really dehydrated by the end of day 2. Until I forget who it was, somebody like just came over and was like, okay, you're going to sit down and you're going to drink water. Like that's to take care of yourself, even though you're trying to get out there and speak to as many people as you can and all that. But like, really, you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things they tell you at internationals too, is when you are running, you have to remember to eat and drink water. Mm-hmm. And my campaign manager, she was a member from my chapter, and she's very, like, we call her like the chapter mother. Mm-hmm. So she, there have been times where like I was like forced to sit down and eat or drink water because I was either so busy or just wasn't feeling it that I wouldn't eat or drink.
Yep.
And it's very common for international candidates. And that's like partially a problem, but also you do have like a really, really packed schedule, and a lot of stuff to think about. So
yeah, I went through that too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Paulina, is Paulina here yet, or is she still out?
She is not. Her Wi-Fi is still down.
Okay. Donovan, what were some challenges that you associated with campaigning?
Well, for me, I was literally sitting at the computer finishing like accepting my invitation or whatever to Phi Theta Kappa, and my my advisor walks up behind me, who's our chapter head, Miss Miles. She walks up and she's like, "Hey, it'd be nice if you'd run for regional vice president, South Carolina." I was like, "Okay, sure." So the big challenge for me was I had to learn a lot about Phi Theta Kappa pretty quickly. Of course, until I found out I wasn't running against anybody, then I was able to kick back. But it was a lot easier after that point. But yeah, I did have to scramble to learn because I knew almost nothing about it. Like I'd seen a little bit of some of the meetings, and that was it until that point.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. I think some of us in here have also like just been kind of thrown in without like any explanation. Like you just gotta start and go.
Yeah, my first year, I accepted membership, and then I think it was that semester, Billy was like, "Yeah, we're hosting the regional convention, so you need to help." And I'm like, "The what now? What? Huh?"
Was that 2015?
Yeah,
That was the first regional conference I had attended.
same. That was the first anything I attended.
Yeah.
To piggyback off Donovan, speaking for Paulina in this case, once again, us three, we did not compete against anybody. We didn't run against anybody. But I would say one of the major challenges with the office itself, like Donovan said, is just learning everything and getting involved and learning how to function, the names of all the projects, all the initiatives, your duties, your positional, what you're supposed to do. So, I mean, that is one of the biggest challenges in terms of campaigning from what I saw on Paulina's campaign. It would just be getting your name out there. Once again, we couldn't meet in person. You could like talk in a booth face to face with everybody who came up. So it would just be, I would say the biggest challenge would be to just expose yourself to as many people as possible so they know that you are running for this position, so they can start thinking about, oh, let me tune into her speech, let me tune into what she's doing, let me do some research, and then hopefully that's it. Thank you.
And I was going to answer right about in that same realm. It's hard to give it that personal touch when it's not in person. And that was really the biggest challenge campaigning for me, at least, that virtual side of it again.
And I would say Donovan's take on kicking back is not the best, but we will let it pass for now, just to go with it.
Yeah, I didn't have anyone running against me either, but I was still super nervous because, like, you know, there's that like 0.001% chance that even your chapter isn't going to vote for you. So it's just like, I could have still lost. Like, I was freaking out.
I do remember I was saying that, I was like, what if, it was during caucus, because I was like late to caucus, because I was on a run and it took longer than I expected. And I was really like, what if they just decide that I'm too bad and they're just going to.
That was my exact
They're just going to keep looking, yeah.
With the public speaking, like that speech for the entry being recorded and posted online, it created this whole another element of, oh gosh, for me. Because when I go on a stage and talk to a crowd, it's a little bit easier than, oh no, I can replay this. Oh no, I can see that mistake I made. It's like, oh gosh, everyone's going to see that.
See, I feel like that's kind of a blessing and a curse, though, because I wish I could go back and watch my speeches for both campaigns. But at the same time, you're right. Like, I'm glad I can't go back and see the mistakes that I made either.
It's easier to almost just wing it sometimes instead of having that ability to like, okay, how many times am I going to re-record this? I had a blooper reel of like my original recordings of my speech, and like halfway through, one of them like fell. My whole phone fell down. It was it's ridiculous. It was a long pile of those.
All right, thank y'all for sharing for that question. And then we have one more question, and I want everybody to answer this one. What advice would you give someone who's interested in campaigning, either for your position or for something in general?
So I would say if there's even a little bit of, I think I want to do this, do it. Like, you're not going to lose anything. If anything, you're just going to gain, whether it be experience, friendship, different skills like public speaking skills or anything. You're not going to lose anything from campaigning in general.
Other than sleep.
Well, you can do that later.
Right.
You don't do that during convention anyway.
That's right.
That is true.
I would agree. Just bouncing back off that, there are only benefits to campaigning. Even if you don't think you'll win, if you don't think you have what it takes, go for it. Have the self-confidence, make it happen. The only thing that could happen is that you, like she said, get better public speaking skills, gain friendships, learn more about Phi Theta Kappa, learn more about yourself. So there are no downsides to campaigning and winning or campaigning and losing. There are only benefits that will help you in the future.
And I would say to be sure that you help get your advisors to help you select a campaign team who are willing to actually campaign for you the entire time that they're allowed to. I think that was really important. I also thought it was really important or helpful when people had, like, I don't know, some kind of stuff that they could wear, even if it was like just a hat or a t-shirt or, you know, something to go on your lanyard that
We had flower
everybody can
necklaces
look
for
at.
mine.
I'm sorry?
We had flower necklaces for mine.
Yeah, and we had t-shirts and we had those big sunglasses. So something catchy that'll catch people's eyes, I think, is really important too. And then just to touch again, I think one of the most important things for me and the pillars that kept me going was my campaign manager. He was very organized. He knew where I needed to be. He had, I don't know how he did it. I don't know. I would have like set alarms on my phone or something, but like he knew where I needed to be and how long it's going to take us to get there and when we needed to leave. And if he wasn't shoving food or water down me, then one of my advisors was too. But to me, I think the most important part, or one of the most important parts, was the delivery of your speech. I think it's just incredibly important that you know your speech. There was so many, I think, controversial advice given about, no, don't memorize it because then it seems all, you know, staged and rehearsed and not coming from your heart. But then I think you have to memorize it, you know it. So if I got stumbled on the stage, then I knew where I was going, but I had to ad lib like to get back to it. So I think knowing, and then again, working with somebody who can help you on the delivery, because I know I heard a couple of candidates that were talking like I am now, super fast. And it just, when somebody else got up there and they were slow and they were methodical and, you know, they enunciated and had their inflection different, I just think that was so much more appealing to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say to definitely, like, if you're running or thinking about running, prod around like just the Phi Theta Kappa website, regional website, whatever, and try to familiarize yourself with as many like bits of information as you can, because it'll really look bad if you're asked any questions and you don't know how to answer them. So just try to familiarize yourself with things like that.
My piece of advice would be to push your limits, but don't push your mental and physical well-being too far. If you guys have all been talking about too much caffeine intake, not getting enough sleep, staying up too late, go, getting forced to drink water, you know, it's put your own life mask on first. Make sure that you are okay. Make sure you're in a good mental and physical state. Don't push yourself too hard. Make sure that your schedule isn't too full. Don't drive yourself crazy.
Yeah,
And I think you made a good point about knowing your facts about PTK, because they will test you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had somebody ask me, what was it? Did I know what the White Rose was and when is Founders Day at my booth? And I was just like,
right, and you're like looking around for your campaign manager to do sign language.
Luckily, I knew those ones.
Oh,
I was
good.
just like, oh God.
I think my piece of advice would just be to try to relax a little bit. I know I was very uptight about my campaign because I was very anxious, and I'm a very anxious person in general. But I think the best thing you could probably do in any campaign is to try to make friends and reach out to people and have fun doing it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice.
And so for the end of this, Sam, if you want to go to the next slide,
Sorry.
it's fine. We have a document. If you want to click on that link or scan your QR, like take your phone and scan the QR code. We have a document that has advice from former candidates that we have kind of just like written stuff that we didn't think we could touch on in the time that we had here. So if y'all, for those presenting, if you haven't already filled it out, if you want to fill it out still, like that's fine. Just like write like some bullets or paragraphs or however much you want to write. Advice that you think that future candidates like really need to hear. And with that, do we have any questions from those who are here today? Hannah? Oh, there's something on the chat. Hold on. Yes. If you are elected international, is it? I don't know if it's a requirement that you have to relinquish your home chapter duties, because I had the same question. I think
No, you
but
don't.
it's preferred.
Right, you don't have to, but it is preferred just because when you are international, you're going to have a lot of work to do. And of course, you're still a student. So it's kind of a personal, can I handle this thing?
It's
Yeah,
I was gonna. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go first.
I was gonna run for international originally, and we had a on-campus garden project that we were trying to set up, and my advisor had said you cannot do both. So it's you can go for regional or you can go for international, and you're gonna have to give up the garden project if you go for international. And so I said that I want my garden project. I'm keeping it. I'll go regional, and here I am.
Yeah, I know that for international, one of the things they tell you is if you're elected, it's highly recommended that you drop to part-time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
And you do have to travel. I know there was no optional travel dates. Like if I had ran for international, it was like if you have a job outside of this, you have to have these days off. No ifs, ands, or buts.
yeah, those are for like trainings, or if you are a regional officer or international officer attending like other regional conferences.
Mm-hmm.
And they're definitely flexible with scheduling, especially like the meetings. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is there any other questions?
The one in chat says, can you run for both international and regional at the same time?
So,
I don't think
that
so.
they're not concurrent, because at least for us, like our regionals is before international.
Yeah.
The short
I don't-
answer to that is no.
I don't think it's possible to hold the two offices just
No.
because international travels so much.
Yeah, Beth just said that you can't do both.
Okay.
But I would still say, like, especially if you do have, like, another year, I would, like, if you can run for both, like, it really did open a lot of doors for me. And, I don't regret running for either one. But if I had to choose which one I would have rather ran for, I would probably say international, because I feel like I gained a lot from that, and I didn't even win.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
Yeah, me
Gained
too.
A lot.
Yeah. Are there any other questions before the session ends? I know it's already 12:46.